we've got one session left. We left the best to last. And also we've got the cocktails left as well. So we had a lot of discussions around something called APIX and sandbox and getting access to the global markets, engaging easier. So the procurement with existing banks or financial institutions. So Navin Suri, who's the founder and CEO of Percipient, he would be outlining a little bit more what APIX is actually about and what it could mean to the New Zealand FinTech community. I think he will also demo it, which I'm very excited about. Just quickly on Navin, so he had a long-standing career at Citibank, and then later was the MD and CEO of ING's asset management business in India before founding or incorporating Percipient in 2014 with three other banking colleagues. And since then, he's pretty much been the brain and the engine behind this APIX platform, which I think has been in the making for the last 2 to 3 years. So I know that you still have to connect your laptop as well. I might pass it over to Navin.
Thank you. Am I audible? Yeah. Okay. Hi, everybody. SOP has left tremendous pressure on me to perform well today. And I'll try and do my best. But before I get there, can I just quickly ask, how many bankers in the room who are currently working in a bank? I know Gerald's there. There's Anand. Then nobody else. Okay. How many people who are FinTechs here? Okay, good. What are the rest doing here? Okay. So we've spoken enough about this thing called API Exchange or APIX, and the presentation's title, Simplifying Financial Services Innovation. And there's a reason for that. I think that the experimentation and collaboration that today happens between financial institutions and FinTechs is actually a basket case. I think it has entered the intensive care unit because the vital signs of collaboration and innovation are pointing to death, are pointing red. And let me share some of these with you. APIX has done a good amount of research over the last several months, talking to FinTechs and financial institutions, mostly in Asia Pacific, about their experience of working with each other. And APIX is attempting to solve that, but let's look at some of those very interesting statistics. A little over half of the FinTechs that have been surveyed, and this is, I think, a little over 150 FinTechs around Asia, have met anywhere between 3 to 8 financial institutions in the last 12 months. That's really pathetic, right? Let's go further. 73% of them says it takes up to 15 meetings to get a POC. I'll talk about a personal experience. We're working, or rather attempting to work with a major Japanese bank, one of 3 Japanese mega banks. And I was telling some people yesterday that I actually wrote a post on LinkedIn which said 514 days and counting. And that was from the start to still not having concluded an order. And that's 17 months, right? Here's another one. These meetings typically last anywhere between 6 to 12 months. The situation is really, really grim. Let's look at this. Nearly 60% of them say that less than 10% of the meetings convert to a POC, right? I'm talking about the vital signs, and why am I saying that the collaboration experimentation process is almost dead. 71% say that it takes up to half a year to get procurement, vendor, IT risk, legal risk approvals just to start a POC. And I'm not talking production, I'm saying just to start a POC. 78% of them say they've done 1 or 2 POCs in the last 12 months, right? I mean, there's so much of innovation happening, but it's not moving anywhere. Here's a very interesting one. I'll break this number up for you. 62% of the 70% actually say that less than 10% of their POCs were paid, right? And if you take a number which is less than 25% were paid POCs, that's pathetic. I mean, how is it possible that large organizations don't care about writing a $5,000, $10,000 check so that somebody's expenses can be covered? I feel like crying sometimes when I stand in front of this, and they'd be very happy to. So whatever we do in our company, this Japanese mega bank is happy to write a $6 million check and finish that project over 13 months, giving it to entity data. But the same project, even to do a POC with us, where we are saying we'll move it to production for you for $150,000 and in 3 weeks, right? And it'll be better, but they won't bite. And Saab has spoken enough about this. Here's how much time does it take to convert from a first meeting, and maybe Gerald's, you were saying, I don't want to say this, I don't want to write this, but these are facts. I've spent time, just like yourself in the corporate world, and it's really bad. So I think that the best case scenario that at any financial institution today on how they bring a FinTech in is really bad. So the best case scenario is it takes about 6 to 7 months to take a FinTech in just for a POC. But amazingly, I was talking to one of your big competitors, UBS, recently in a small research sort of a forum. And they said, I said, so how do you start finding a FinTech for a use case that somebody in the business, somebody in operations, somebody in legal is wanting to know? Well, I start with Google, right? So there isn't a place in the world today where you can go and find a FinTech for a use case that you have in mind. The next thing that I do is I call my friends in the industry to say, do you know somebody who does something like this? And even after doing that, I have a serious FOMO that did I do enough research that I have not left any FinTech out who could actually solve my problem. So it takes between, say this is the best case scenario, 2 months to find a FinTech or shortlist a FinTech. Then you get into your vendor, IT, legal, et cetera, and then comes the big pain of how do I give the data to the FinTech? And I think many panelists and speakers have spoken about that. So passing out data is a problem, that goes in CSV files, but even then it's encrypted, even then it's a problem. And somewhere in month 7, month 8, the POC could actually start. What if all of this can be eliminated? Is that even possible? And that's the sort of challenge that, working under guidance from Saab, 3, 4 of us got together and said, let's take a very ambitious goal. And the goal was, let's set out some design principles to create a platform which can make experimentation as easy as this, right? That you come to a place, whatever that place is, you browse around, you pick something to try. The analogy we often use was when you go to an airport and there's a perfume that you wish to try, there are testers lying there, you just try, it smells nice, you say, okay, I want to buy it. You select it and you buy it. Right? Can innovation be this simple? That's the design principle that we started to work. And the idea and the objective was it should enable financial institutions and FinTechs to discover each other very easily, accelerate their experimentation in a very cheap manner, and also drive digital transformation, right? So I'm now going to, with this little bit of background, start to dive into the platform itself, right? At a very business level, the platform looks something like this, right? It has 3 parts. If you look at this particular chart, at the top, you have FinTechs. And FinTech, InsurTech, RegTech, SoupTech, this tech, that tech, whatever it is. A robo-advisor, a payments company. At the bottom of this are financial institutions. These are banks of various sizes and shapes, insurance companies, asset management companies, NBFCs. SOP will announce at the FinTech Festival there are a couple of central banks that are now on the platform. And there are some new ways being, I'll talk about them shortly. So you've got FinTechs at the top, you've got financial institutions at the bottom, and in the middle is the APIX platform. And the APIX platform has many, many interesting components inside it, and I'm going to talk about them shortly. But is this clear that it's a three-layered stack? I spoke about the design principles, and we said, can innovation happen in 5 easy steps, and can it happen instantly? So how does this work? Step 1, financial institutions and fintechs register themselves on the platform. Actually, we required them to subscribe to it. So there's a small fee that we charge for you to be on the platform. APIX is funded through grants by the MAS, by the International Finance Corporation. It is a not-for-profit organization, which lends it great amount of credibility and authenticity. And so the subscription fee that we charge is a very small fee. It's just to help maintain the platform and keep it upgraded and do new things in it. So the fintechs come and register themselves. The financial institutions come and register themselves. And remember the problem of finding a fintech for a use case that you have, this is what we begin to solve with it. That over a period of time, this should become the TripAdvisor equivalent, right? You're looking for a hotel, and you want to be able to go to a place where you are likely to find the type of hotel you're looking for, in the location, at the price range, with the facilities, and have objective comments and reviews and ratings done by previous people who've lived there at that particular hotel. So after you register, a fintech can go to all existing customers, banks, insurers, and get them to come to the APIX platform and write about their experience with that fintech. And now, hopefully, if the experience is good, it lends credibility. Now, you imagine you've got an online platform. Globally, the fintech becomes visible and available instantly. Now, if Credit Suisse has used Canopy, and Tanmay calls you and says, Gerald, can you write something about me? That's incredibly valuable, isn't it? But today, there is no way for him to be able to do that, right? So now the financial institutions do the same thing. Once they have registered on the APIX platform, they can begin to post problems and use cases that they're looking for solutions for. So they can say, I'm looking for an eKYC solution, I'm looking for a AML solution, I want to do some new regulatory reporting, I'm looking for some digital stuff. And fintechs, in a very secure way, can begin to see who is posting problems for cases that I can solve. And with that, they can begin to raise their hand, and I'm going to walk you through a little bit on how the whole thing works, and be able to actually knock on the bank's door with a MVP ready with the bank's APIs used in that MVP without asking for anything more than that. Yeah? So this is step 1. Step 2 is you will get discovered globally, and financial institutions can easily start to browse around. I'm not doing a full demo of the platform today, but it's incredible. I mean, you go in and say face match, for example. You will see all fintechs who offer OCR-based face match capabilities. You will see how many APIs there. You see reviews that they've written, how many people have downloaded their API. All of that sort of stuff is available on the platform. The third is you completely eliminate the entire onboarding steps in the middle. Now, how does that happen? So once the fintech is registered on the platform, what the fintech does is they expose endpoints of their APIs on the platform. Financial institutions also are encouraged to do the same. If you're a financial institution on the APIX platform and you're not exposing your APIs, you shouldn't be on it, because it's meant to be an API exchange-based collaboration and innovation process. So once both these API endpoints are available on the platform, and a fintech is looking to solve a particular use case, they can simply take the API endpoints of the financial institution, combine it with a built-in, pre-provided set of smart bank data, which is synthetic data, which is sample data. It almost looks like, or actually mimics, the financial services data model, the FSDM that we all talk about, and also smart bank APIs. Now, the big challenge most fintechs always have is, look, I've got capability to do something. Mr. Financial Institution, you're looking for me to solve for that, but I need to understand your data model. I need to understand your data structures, and that is a big problem for financial institutions to provide. Inside the APIX platform, there is smart bank data and smart bank APIs which mimic what a financial services data model actually looks like, which means that as a fintech, you can use real underlying data represented by the API endpoints from the financial institution, combine it with the financial service data model, and actually create an MVP. Which means you don't need to wait for legal clearances. Provided your financial institution's already on the platform, all they do is begin to give out more IDs to people who they want to democratize innovation with, and you want to give it to your product guys, your technology guys, your legal guys, all of these sort of people you can give this out to, right? And I'll show that to you shortly. I've covered this already. The most important thing which financial institutions would want to know is, I've got this worry that whatever I'm doing on the platform, who all can see what I'm doing, right? So as a financial institution, I don't want to show to my competitors what I'm looking for, because that's market intelligence. Now, you have your own, as a financial institution, your own secure sandbox, which means it is containerized, it's VM-based, nobody else can look at what you're doing. And you have control over what you want to show to the public and what you want to keep private. Right? Both these things are available. So for the financial institution, what you do is what we are beginning to call show and sell, right? For the fintech, that you go develop the MVP using that particular financial institution's APIs to create something which is custom for them. And at the other end, the financial institution quickly shortlists fintechs, selects them, tests them, and starts to use. So if you recall this particular slide that I was talking about, the best case scenario, what all gets eliminated using APIX is finding a fintech becomes a problem of the past. Now, as we speak, there are about 140 fintechs, mostly from Asia Pacific, that are in queue to come onto the platform. Why did I say in queue? Because we don't want any and every fintech to be on the platform. When a fintech comes to register themselves, there's a whole series of questions that you need to answer. Once you've answered and press submit, it goes into a curation team who looks at the answers. If there are any iffy sort of answers, they will actually go and say, can you answer this differently? Can you tell me more about it? So these are curated fintechs on the platform. As we speak, there are a little over 60 financial institutions that are in queue to come onto the platform. And these are, again, mostly Asian financial institutions. So if any of your fintechs or any of you fintechs sitting in this room come onto the platform, you are immediately going to be visible to at least 60 financial institutions. Now, it is a process that is meant to be collaborative, which means that we can't go and invite all fintechs to come onto the platform one by one. So we have an event like this where we're saying, please spend a little bit of time to enroll and enable and register yourself onto the platform so that you can take advantage of what this can do for you. What I've done is, instead of actually showing a full demo, I quickly took some screenshots to just walk you through what does it actually look like. Okay, so this is actually the home page. You can log in. It gives you a whole list of fintechs. You can scroll up and down. You can filter them by this and that, and there are varieties of cuts that you can take. One of the most amazing things that we are trying to enrich the platform with is problem statements availability, which a fintech can see, but banks cannot see with each other, right? It's kept private. And what's really interesting is, we've seen, and this has come out of research, that if you take a bank's digital team or an innovation team, these are guys who know something about one entire process. So if somebody says, I want you to go and find me the best eKYC fintech in the region or in the country, they can do that, but they don't really know the full process of what does it take to actually bring an eKYC capability to life. So what we are doing inside the platform is creating a catalog of what does an eKYC process look like end to end. And each such process could be broken into 7, 8, 9 different sub-processes. Under each of those sub-processes, we are tagging fintechs, which you could see. So you can say, okay, an eKYC solution requires 7 sub-steps. For each of those 7 sub-steps, how many fintechs are already available on the platform is available there. So the digital team, the innovation team, does not need to go and think through what the entire process would be. It's already being provided. And we're getting more and more feedback that what should be added to it. So we're continuously doing that. Your sandbox that's available inside is your own secure sandbox. And inside the sandbox, there is an IDE. And some of the techies in the room may understand this. It's called an integrated development environment, which means that this is where you cook your dish. You have the ID. Now you want to bring endpoints from the financial institution, the fintech, and the smart bank data and APIs into one common place and develop your product. Some of the bigger banks that are coming onto the platform have said that, look, I don't need another sandbox. Many big banks already have sandboxes of their own. But they've said, but I want to monetize my APIs. So I want to be on this platform because a lot of fintechs are wanting to access what I have, and I want to charge them when they want to make a call to an API that I have. One of the other things that came out as very valuable feedback, which we're already working on, is that today, if you look at fintechs and financial institutions, they are using a lot of APIs from different types of API providers. For example, utility companies, telcos, stock exchanges, payment gateways, credit bureaus, national ID companies. For each of these, they have a separate ID, a separate login, and they have to go through a pretty cumbersome process of bringing them all together. We are creating inside the APIX platform what we call a core API stack. This is going to be by country, and each of these common use APIs, as we are beginning to call them, will be available inside the APIX platform, which means that it'll be a single sign-on to access all varieties of common use APIs for the developers that work on something like this. Yeah? So we're also hoping, this number is very small right now, that over a period of time, the APIX community will become something like what you see on GitHub and what you see on Bitbucket, which are really massive communities of developers who are working with each other, learning and sharing. And for financial institutions, your developers could be on the platform. For fintechs, your developers could be on the platform, and they begin to create a community for themselves. This is a quick look at the structure. So The top left is a financial institution. Bottom left is a fintech. Both of them have exposed endpoints of their APIs onto the APIX platform. Now, one of the research that we did with financial institutions, they said, hey, look, I have a core banking system. We were talking about this yesterday, which is Temenos or Finacle or FlexCube or Silver Lake or whatever. And I don't have any external facing published APIs today in my ecosystem. So what we started to do is now we are building a library inside APIX of connectors to a variety of core banking systems. And on top of that, we are putting together APIs that are pre-built, which you can use for those core banking systems up to N-2 versions. And these are APIs which are customer APIs, product APIs, pricing APIs, loans, deposits, etc. As we speak, we have 35 APIs that are ready on the platform. These APIs vary from simple to complex. Simple meaning you want to do an inquiry. Complex meaning you want to orchestrate data and create a customer 360 view from a variety of different sources or transaction types, and you can bring it all together. And if you wish to move this to production now, today the APIX platform does not do that. It stops at experimentation, it stops at MVP, it stops at prototype and a POC. But sometime by end of Q1 of next year, we will enable you to actually carry the entire code that you did and move it into production as well. And that's on the roadmap and in the next. So from a fintech's point of view, given that majority in this room are, we think that for fintechs, just like it was for financial institutions, getting registered, getting discovered is going to be very, very easy. What's next in the platform? So I've covered this stack on the left, which is the fintech marketplace. There's a problem catalog. You have a secure sandbox. You have your own integrated development environment, your own API gateway, and there's smart data and APIs inside it. What's coming next, and I know Sop is deeply passionate about this, is, and we spoke a little bit about this when we met some of you yesterday, is a system of recognizing the quality a fintech is such that it shortens the procurement and the selection process, as well as creates greater interest from investors in that fintech. Now, Standard & Poor's and Deloitte have been working for the last 4 months to develop these two things. I'm a startup myself, and I think it'll be incredibly valuable to have a method which is so objective and evaluated and created by a highly, highly credible organization like S&P and highly, highly credible organization like Deloitte. And there are many other things that are on the platform. I know I have less than 2 minutes left. Let me stop there. Sop, is there anything you wish to add?
This platform is again built around collaborative input. In fact, what Navin showed is an upgraded platform after 2 years of development from a market which you all can't imagine is from Myanmar. When we first built this product, we went to Myanmar to show the product to a Myanmar ecosystem, and they gave us 80+ feedback how to improve this platform. So it has been upgraded to operate in a country like Myanmar, where there is still a very early stage financial sector. So it works for Myanmar, it should work for all of us. And we want to bring this platform in collaboration with New Zealand ecosystem so that we learn something and together we can enhance this platform. Ultimately, it's a non-profit, it's a collaborative link which brings fintechs and the banks together. Again, the big number is a $500 billion tech spend waiting to be tapped by fintechs. Go for it. And the last piece, I just want to ensure that there is a bit of question around fintech ratings. I explained yesterday, I explained one more time. One of the challenges fintech face, they don't know how to pitch to the investor for getting the fund. And this platform will create a simulation tool for for you to understand where is your gap when you pitch to an investor. And that document will help you to upgrade your profile of your company when you're pitching for a different funding round. That's all I do.
Yeah, and just to add to that, while the platform as we have designed it, and APIX is a startup. Let's not think of it being any mature than a startup. As we're going to different markets and roadshows like this, we're coming up with newer ideas and newer applications audiences are telling us they can put this to, and which is typically what happens with the startup, right? I think this is my product, the market tells me this is the value in your product. And one such is a very large global bank, custody bank, who's saying, please give me this entire platform because I have 5 innovation centers around the world, and I would like to onboard this. And at any point in time, there is a FinTech that we want to work with, we will say, please come via APIX because I cut through the entire bureaucracy through that process, right? And we're very happy with that. I mean, why would, so if you come across, any such opportunities or you have ideas that this can do many different things than what we have managed to articulate, we're very welcome to hear that and take it to other markets and talk about it and see if there is any legs that we can give it. Yeah. So I must stop at that. Thank you very much for your time, and very happy to continue the discussion at cocktails.